Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. This is a video I've been waiting to make for so long, but I wanted to review everything on the channel first. So I wanted to go through everything, rewatch everything, and review it for the channel before I did this. And before we get started, I do want to mention a few things. First of all, this is purely my opinion. I know that some of these movies are literally better than others, but this is just based on my pure enjoyment and how much they relate to the other overall series, and just how much they make sense, and everything goes into this thing. This is a complete, rounded, my thoughts on the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the other thing I want to mention is that this is still alive, right? This is still, like, building and moving and changing. This could change tomorrow. It's entirely possible that I wake up tomorrow and I'm like, you know what, this movie was actually better than this one. It changes all the time because these movies are just so alive and they move and it's incredible. But I also just want to thank you guys for following me along for this long. We've been doing this for almost a year now, and just like thank you to all my loyal subscribers. I appreciate every single last one of you. But yeah, today we're going to be ranking all Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. The Marvel Cinematic Universe started in 2008, so that's like a long time ago. And since then there have been movies and television shows, which you're probably wondering, why isn't he talking about the TV shows? That's tomorrow. If you're interested in that, definitely subscribe and come back tomorrow morning at 7:45, where every single Marvel Cinematic Universe television show will be ranked in order from worst to best. Which is how I'm ranking this one. It's from worst to best. My opinion, my thoughts. It doesn't, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I do want to know what you guys think. So put in the comments below what your ranking is. I'm very, very interested in that kind of thing. I love talking about that kind of thing in the comments. So follow along with me as I talk about my ranking and think about where you put those movies in your ranking. This is my list. It's right here. You can't see it because I don't want you to spoil the ending. But this is where I do all my reviews. So like it's super long. It's a very long book, and I have like 5 more of these I've already written in, so it's crazy. But this is my complete updated list, starting at number 24, which is Captain Marvel. This one was rough, because choosing one to be the worst is extremely difficult, because I don't think any of these movies are awful. That's not true. There are 2 that I consider very bad, and then the rest of them are, like, pretty good. And then there's fantastic movies. Like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has 24 movies. Some of them are bound to be bad, and this one just feels like the worst for me because I don't really care about the character a whole lot, and their whole point of the movie was to be progressive. The idea of the movie is that women can be powerful and, like, they can be superheroes, which I totally agree. That's not my problem. There's a fly. Kill the fly. My problem with the movie is that they show Captain Marvel pretending to be manly, which I think is not the point. I'm trying to word this carefully as to not upset people. I think that the issue is that they were like, we need to have a woman superhero. They're like, cool, we need a woman to pretend to be a man to be a superhero. And it just kind of went very back in terms of being progressive. And the story is boring. Nothing interesting really except for Nick Fury, who is like, even he's kind of like in the film. But that's like really one of the main reasons, and also it was set in between 2 fantastic movies that I was waiting for, so like it just felt like a kind of a hop skip kind of thing before Endgame, so it was very tight and tense in those moments. Coming in 23rd was Thor: The Dark World. Thor: The Dark World is very bad. We all know it's bad. I think that even people who are like, I like that movie, they know it's not very good. Very little plot development. The character development is very, very small. It just feels like a waste of time to watch that movie. It's so bad that in Endgame they had to recap this movie because they didn't think audiences would remember what had happened. Which, thank you, Marvel, very nice of you, but like that's so funny. But yeah, that's pretty far down the list, of course. 22 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, and this is where it starts to get kind of difficult to like rank. I spent like a good half an hour thinking about where I wanted all these to go. It's like absolutely incredible. It took so much time. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, I don't think is bad. I really don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's as good as it could have been. I think choosing Ghost as the main villain was kind of it was a rough choice. Very, very risky, because Ghost is very boring. Like, there's not a whole lot that goes on with Ghost. So I think that's why they added the extra kind of conflict of him being on house arrest, and added the extra conflict of trying to get Hope back, or is it Hope? No, Hope's Hope is the Wasp, trying to get the mother back or whatever. There was a whole lot of conflict, and nothing was resolved in any way that felt good to us. So it's just like a lot of conflict that like we didn't care about and was like really annoying. One of the big redeeming moments of this is the end credit scene, which I honestly think this is probably one of the best end credit scenes that they have in the MCU. In my opinion, I think it might even be the best end credit scene. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It just teases Endgame so much, so very good on that. But I really think that this film could have been so much better, and it just wasn't. Coming in at number 21, we have Avengers Age of Ultron. Now, this is probably going to upset a few people, because like a lot of people really like this movie. I don't really care for it very much, just because I think Ultron is such a big villain that they could have used over multiple movies and could have made much more violent. And in this, they made him like really educated and very nice and polite and very calm about how he was destroying the world, which I actually kind of liked because it makes sense, but it just felt like they wanted an excuse to put Vision in a film, which, fine, I get it, but why did it have to be this excuse? Like, I get it, we had to create Vision somehow, but it just felt like this could have been teased a little bit more, maybe, like led up to a bit, but instead they were like, and Age of Ultron, put it here, and it just didn't feel like it didn't move any characters farther. We got Scarlet Witch, and of course we got Vision, two of my favorite characters, but I just feel like they didn't quite use them the way that they should have been used, and it felt like a very weak introduction for those characters, and honestly a very boring movie in general. But it is very important, because if you don't watch that one, then you're not going to understand Civil War, which then leads to Infinity War. There's a whole lot that goes on in the film that matters for later on, so you can't skip it. You can't really skip any Marvel movie without being confused. But I just don't think that they quite utilize all the characters correctly. That's why it's pretty far down. Coming at number 20, we have Iron Man 2. And this one I almost didn't put as low as I did, but I just don't think it's quite as good of a film as people think it is. It's just not very fun, especially compared to the first one. It's a pretty knockdown in quality in general. I liked having Hammer. I think he was great. I hope we see him again. I think we will. In Armor Wars, if we can get what's-his-face back, that'd be really great. I don't know if we will, but I hope we do. But it just kind of felt like a weak villain and a weak time. It didn't feel like a very fun movie. It wasn't a very active Iron Man movie. That it could have been much more Iron Man-y, and it just wasn't. And I think audiences really needed, at this point in the stage of the MCU, to have a big action movie, because we're leading to the Avengers. That's like the big thing they're leading to, and they didn't quite go over that push that we needed. We needed some more momentum to get through Iron Man 2 that it just didn't quite have. At number 19, we have Black Widow. I know a lot of people love Black Widow, like the movie. I just didn't. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I think other people did. And it's not even the character, it's just the movie didn't focus enough on Black Widow for me. It was like, yeah, here's Black Widow, and I'm like, cool, but like, it's not about her, really. Like, Yelena, it's about her, and I love Yelena. Yelena was the best part of the film, but the villain was just really boring, had no good parts. I'm a huge Taskmaster fan from the comics. I think Taskmaster is always very fun and always very difficult to defeat. That's the big part about Taskmaster, is that, like, yeah, it's more of a side villain, but it's so hard to defeat Taskmaster because they know what you're going to do. And they kind of were like, they use it in the beginning, which is really cool fight with Black Widow and Taskmaster. I love that fight. And then they're like, and Taskmaster just kind of forgets to do the one thing that Taskmaster can do. And it was really annoying. Really freaking annoying to just see a really great villain wasted like that. So that's why it's quite far down the list. Number 18 is The Incredible Hulk. I don't know why this movie gets as much hate as it does. I actually kind of liked it. I like Edward Norton. I think Edward Norton's Bruce Banner is very good. I don't think his Hulk is very good. Mark Ruffalo is good at both, but like I think that, people hate on Norton because he's not as good as Ruffalo, and that's fine. I get it. I agree, but like I like the story for the Incredible Hulk in general. I liked a lot of the special effects were pretty good considering they're not as good as the Avengers. But I just think that like people hated the movie when they really shouldn't have, as much as it was. I just kind of enjoyed it. It was a fun movie to watch. I watch it occasionally. I have it on Blu-ray. It's just a fun watch, Next, number 17 is Captain America Civil War. Before you clicked off the video, I know, it's pretty far down on the list. I don't like it as much as other people do, and I think a lot of it has to do with, it's just the marketing problem, right? When we market this film as this crazy fight sequence of events, and there's just one big fight sequence, and it's like 5 minutes and it's at the end of the film. And like, yeah, there's a lot of problems with it. You need to watch it in order to watch the rest of the MCU for sure. And I love the introduction to Spider-Man. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Spider-Man's my favorite MCU character. He always has been, always will be. And I just think that it was a very good introduction for him, which is why it's not at the bottom. But I don't really care about the politics within the thing, but I do think it was daring of them to try to put politics in there, and it worked. I'm happy about it. I just didn't particularly care. As I rewatch this movie, it does get better and better every time. I appreciate it more and more every single time because I know more about the lore, I know more about what's going to happen, and so I appreciate the film on a higher level than what I ranked it. I just don't think it was quite as good as it deserved to be, given the fact that it was marketed as one of the best films of all time. Alright, number 16, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now this one is like... it's complicated, because I love Guardians of the Galaxy as a characters, as a bunch of characters. But they didn't focus on them as a team as much as this one, so much as they focused on Star-Lord, which is fine. I like Star-Lord. But I wanted to get to know all the characters a bit more. We didn't really get a whole lot of character development. I think Ego was a fantastic villain. Absolutely loved him. I love Kurt Russell. I really do. I just don't think it was quite as tight as the first one. The first one was definitely more fun as well. This one just felt more like a forced comedy, whereas the first Guardians of the Galaxy was like, oh, this is funny. Like it doesn't matter who you are. This is funny. The second one's much more of like, oh, they expect this movie to be funny. It needs to have jokes. And the jokes just didn't always land. And I just didn't quite enjoy it as much as the first one. 15, we have Thor. I mean, Kenneth Branagh was fine, but like, I didn't need all the intensity that Thor had. When Thor was funny and when he was on Earth, it was great. I really enjoy him being on Earth. When he's in Asgard, I like that we get to explore Asgard a lot, but it just didn't feel like the right way to do it, which is why Ragnarok is very, very high up there, because Ragnarok explores like Asgard. Sorry, stutter. Asgard much better. Like they really explore it in a fun way. This one, they're like, and here's Asgard, and they don't really explain it as much as I think they could have. But it was a good introduction to the character, so it's not very far down the bottom. 14, we have Ant-Man. I know a lot of you are like, why'd you put Ant-Man above Thor? I just like Ant-Man as a character more. I always have. I don't really care about Thor a whole lot as much as I care about Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man's freaking hilarious. I love Paul Rudd. I love the, like, young hero not knowing what to do with his powers kind of feel to it. It has a nice vibe. I like the super spy vibe, the kind of thief kind of vibe that it has, and I appreciated it for what it is, which is just a fun superhero movie. And it's close to Spider-Man in terms of, like, how it feels, which I also appreciated. And I like the movie. I really do. Number 13, we have Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is better than I think people think it is. I really enjoy it because it isn't a big Iron Man movie, and it didn't need to be. We had just gotten done with the Avengers, and then they're like, what do we do now? And it's like, we need a third Iron Man movie. And they're like, okay, but let's not have it be super Iron Man-ish. He doesn't have his suit for more than half the film, I think. And it's absolutely brilliant. And having the kid there is, oh, so great. Absolutely love the kid. I hope he comes back for Armor Wars, or even Secret Invasion at this point. And I really enjoy the feel of Iron Man 3. It's just a nice tone of a movie. And honestly, it's one that I like to rewatch quite a bit. It's very fun. Next, number 12, we have Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, as I mentioned when I talked about Volume 2, I just love the characters. And this movie felt funny without trying to be funny. It's absolutely brilliant. The colors are beautiful. The space, I mean, exploring space in the MCU is risky to start with. And they do it so well. I'm very, very happy to say this movie is absolutely fantastic. And honestly, it didn't deserve to do very well, because, like, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy. No one's heard about them until the movie happened. And it hit. It's very, very good. And that's why it's kind of closer to the front. 12, we have 11. I can't read. 11, Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange. I think he's a great character. I think as we progress through the MCU, he's going to become even more of a bigger character. I don't think Multiverse of Madness will be his last film, but I have waited a long time for the second one. I think this is the longest gap we've had between a first one and a sequel. So I'm really excited to see this next one, of course, for so many reasons. But the first one just has this air of, like, really funness and really darkness to it. Where we have, he's talking about magic. Benedict Cumberbatch is fantastic. He's a doctor. He's arrogant, learning to get over that. And then we had the love story as well. It's just a bunch of really, really great pieces of fun that they shove into this movie that I think work extremely well. Number 10, might surprise you coming from me, is Spider-Man Far From Home. I love this movie with a passion, okay? I love Spider-Man, I love Tom Holland, I'm a big fan. But I don't think it worked as well as the first one for so many reasons. The big one being, it didn't focus as much on Peter being Peter. I know that it mentions literally that it's trying to focus on it. It's like, well, we're focusing on Peter because Peter's like, he wants to go on vacation, he wants a break from Spider-Man, and he's focusing on Zendaya and love and stuff like that. So that's great. it just didn't work as well as when we had him struggling with being a superhero and being in high school and all that jazz. But I think it worked as a sequel because it is able to show us the differences between him having Iron Man and him not having Iron Man, which I think is a very important clash. And so I very much enjoyed watching that dynamic quite a bit. So I really did enjoy that. But for the most part, I like Mysterio as a character from the comics. I love him, and I think he was done well considering they had to modernize him. I don't think it was perfect, but I think it was okay, which is why the first one's definitely better, but it's still in my top 10. Number 9 is Iron Man for obvious reasons. Iron Man is fantastic. Love the character. The introduction is fantastic. It literally started an entire universe, now a multiverse, and I just think it's absolutely brilliant. I freaking love this movie. It is so much fun, and Robert Downey Jr. deserves all the praise that he gets for this film because it is absolutely stunning. Coming in at number 8, we have The Avengers. And I know a lot of you are probably like, why is it so low? I just don't like it as much as other people do. I think it's a really good film. I don't think it's the best film. I think it's really fun, and of course it started, as an idea. It all started as an idea. But, I just like how it progressed into this amazing piece of film that we have now of just, 24 amazing movies and, 20 more to come. It's so, so good, and, I really appreciate it, but it's just not as good as the next one I'm about to mention. With number 7 being Black Panther. Black Panther is fantastic. Coogler did a fantastic job. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. You did a fantastic job. I love the score for this film. It's fantastic. And it just has this awesome feel to it that a lot of Marvel movies don't quite hit, which is yeah, he's a superhero, but he's also a king, and he has his place that he used to rule. And the villain, Killmonger, is one of my favorite villains, honestly. He's just so great to watch and fun to watch. And so I really appreciate this film on a lot of different levels. Number 5, we're in the top 5 now. This is number 6. Yeah, number 6, we're on the top 5, Thor Ragnarok. I like Thor Ragnarok as much as the next guy. It's hilarious. I love the Hulk. I love Thor in this film. Taika Waititi is a genius. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I really, really like this film. Coming in at number 5, now we're in the top 5, Captain America: The First Avenger. I'm a huge Captain America fan. I love Captain America. I think he's probably my second favorite Avenger after Spider-Man, of course. But I like this movie because it just has this nice feel of war. A nice feel of war. I love war movies. I love war movies a lot. And this one is a war movie. It's a period film with a superhero in it. Wonderful. It's exactly what I wanted. I'm very excited because soon I'll be watching the 1990 version of Captain America. I have it right here. I'm very excited to watch that, so definitely subscribe if you're interested in me watching that. So I'm very excited. Coming in at number 4, this might surprise you, Avengers Endgame. I don't think it's as good as everybody says it is. It's a very good movie. It's 4th on my list. Is it the best? Absolutely not. There are so many things going on at the same time. They don't explain everything particularly well, and it is quite a slow movie. Is it cinematic and beautiful, and are there a lot of great things? Absolutely there are. It's just not as good as some of the other films, I think. And I think that there's a lot of fan service that I appreciated, but I think one thing that they're going to have an issue with is figuring out how to top that on a way that is fan service, right? I think that there are going to be things that come out that are going to be better than Endgame, easily. In fact, I guarantee it. But I don't think they're going to deliver on fan service the way that they did for Avengers Endgame. I just don't think it's possible. And therefore, people are going to be like, it's not as good as Endgame, because Endgame had, Captain America lifting Mjolnir and all this awesome stuff, Iron Man's snap. I'm yeah, I get that. But it's just not as good as it could have been, I think. It's just not as tight as I think I wanted it to be. And it is still very good. It's number 4, but still, it'll surprise a lot of people. Top 3. Number 3 is Spider-Man: Homecoming. Love this film. I've literally seen this film hundreds of times, not even joking. I would just watch it on repeat. I absolutely love this film. It is the only film that I own on 4K UHD. I need to get more 4K, so I have a 4K player. But I absolutely love this film. It's one of my favorite films of all time, not only just it being in the MCU. Number 2, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Fantastic tone. It's the first time they took a dark tone for a movie, and introducing the Winter Soldier was fantastic. I love the vibes we get between Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I just think as a whole, it works as such a perfect unison film of just true grit and absolute fun. And so I love that film. And of course, number 1 is Avengers: Infinity War, because it has the stakes. It is different from Endgame because in Endgame, they've already lost. What more could they do? And here in Infinity War, they're we have to try to win or we will lose. For the first time, the Avengers could lose, and then they do lose. And it was just such a daring film, and it really is amazing. And I absolutely love that film, which is why it is number 1. So what do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. I love having these kind of discussions. And again, these things change all the time. Every time I learn about more, every time I rewatch a film, they get better. And I absolutely love the MCU. It is such a fun experience to watch. So if you haven't watched the MCU, like, do it. I don't know what you're watching this for. Most of them are on Disney Plus. Over Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk. And Disney and the Black Widow yet. But very, 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 very great cinematic universe. I had so much fun watching all of these again. So definitely do that. And let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I love knowing. So thank you guys so much for watching this. Please consider subscribing, liking the video, sharing with friends, and as always, keep watching movies and television. Stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.